Thank you, and thanks Landmark for having me here today. I'd also like to make a special call out to my friend Johnny Weiss, one of the sponsors, the Trans-Tasman Circle. If you're ever doing business in Australia and New Zealand, these guys know everybody, so make sure you know them. We want to talk 5 themes in 5 minutes. Why on earth are the Aussies here talking about IPOs in Israel and the US? Well, there's a few key reasons. Firstly, the market cap for Australia, and I should qualify, all of our figures are in US dollars. We've got $1.4 trillion for our listed market cap. Importantly, the key figure there on this page is 130. We're doing 130 IPOs annually. That figure is an average going back the last 5 years. Last year we did 130, the year before 140, the year before that 130. The significance of this is we are printing a lot of tickets in the mid-cap, small-cap space. And by mid-cap, small-cap, I'm talking market caps of between $50 and $500 million with a typical raise between sort of $20 and $100 million. I don't want to brush over the large cap as well. We did our largest ever listing last year, a domestic retailer with a $15 billion market cap. We also did the two largest mining IPOs in the world, one of which was a US miner. How are we doing this? We've got one of the fastest growing pension pools in the world. Due to the fact that everybody's wages are from 1992, 9% of everybody's pay has been going into a total scheme, industry, personal, corporate. But it's a massive pool, sitting currently at $2 trillion US. That pool is going to grow, according to actuarial studies, to around about $6 trillion by the end of next decade. Second theme, tech is hot in Australia. Now, there's a few key reasons for this. Firstly, you may know, I mentioned mining, and market has typically been very, very mining and financial centric. What's happened in the last 5 years? We had the biggest mining recession in 3 decades, and we've just had a Royal Commission that's really, really materially impacted the financial sector. So diversification is very, very important. And what we're seeing now is tech has been one of the largest new sectors coming to market for the last 5 years. In addition to that, we are seeing this diversification theme. It's going to continue to grow. It is only 2% of our market at the moment, compared to the US, where it's about 15%. But we've now got over a dozen unicorns, and most importantly, year on year, more tech companies are going into our benchmark indices. 2 great examples here. Xero, IPO'd at $40 million market cap. Current market cap is $5 billion. Significance of Xero, global company, consolidated its listing on ASX last year, benchmarked that on a year study against US exchanges and felt that scarcity value, that getting into the index was invaluable. One of the other significant things about Excel, apart from the fact that it IPO'd at $40 million on a $15 million raise, is it's one of the very, very few public companies that Excel have invested in after they listed. Another company breaking into the US at the moment, Afterpay, IPO'd 3 years ago with a $117 million market cap. Currently market cap at $4 billion in the payment space, and it is one of the darlings. And if you walk around San Francisco, you'll see its name on quite a few shops. It's breaking into this market. But 2 great examples of the dozen or so unicorns that we've got listed. Thirdly, global home for mid-caps. I mentioned really what we're doing is a major concerted effort to attract companies in the mid-cap space, in the tech space, to come to Australia. And the key reason for that is you can get into the benchmark index, the S&P ASX 300, with a free float market cap as small as US $300 million. That also means that you've got passive money, you've got natural liquidity, and I think one of the key things is even in the sort of micro-cap sector, where we've got strong retail, family office, and some of the self-managed super, some of the smaller cap companies are getting up to 80% average daily turnover, annual turnover. And risk appetite, we cheekily like to say ASX has been funding startups for a century. For 95 years, they've been in the mining sector, but it actually is quite a unique characteristic. We've got a single board in Australia, which means that you've got global access to Australian and international investors on day one. I should point out one really important thing. Australians have a real soft spot for Israel, okay? I'd like to just point out on the political dynamic, I know there's a lot of discussion going on the global scene there. On the far left there, Josh Frydenberg is meeting Prime Minister Netanyahu on the first visit by an Israeli Prime Minister to Australia 2 years ago. Josh is our Finance Minister and Deputy Leader of the governing Conservative Party. In the middle there is our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, announcing the movement or the policy change of the Australian Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And on the right, I'm proud to say our opposition leader, who leads the Labor Party, unlike some other Labor parties in the world, is a proud supporter of Israel. And like Israel, Australia is going to the polls a month after Israel. But whatever the outcome of that election, Australian support for Israel will not change. And I should say one of the reasons we're here and we're on this stage is we've got 20 Israeli companies listed at the moment, largely in the mid-cap, micro-cap space. All of them listed up. Their market cap for that sector is just under $2 billion at the moment. And indeed, one of them, Dragontail Systems, our good friend Ido, is going to be speaking about his business after this presentation. Finally, just a quick comment. ASX is open for business. I've got my colleague Josh Collard and the new head of our New Zealand franchise, Blair Harrison. So please feel free to reach out to us. We encourage everybody who wants to do some due diligence to come to Australia. We'll take you to Bondi Beach and buy you a beer. Reach out to us on WhatsApp with those cell phone numbers there. But my message to founders and funders is we want to be part of the conversation. And if you want a competitive edge, you should have ASX on your list. May not work for everybody, but certainly for the companies that have listed and the companies that we're engaging with, we're getting a great response. We're currently working on our largest US IPO at the moment, which is mandated for next month, $650 million market cap with a $150 million raise, and I hope we can be on this stage in the future and talk about companies of that size from Israel. Thanks for your time today.